So we wanted to do a kind of special Facebook Live about some issues that come up recently. Well, to be honest, they come up all the time, these issues, but we had them in quite quick succession, I think, over the past couple of weeks with a few students, usually younger students, and it's the old chestnut of, my kid is losing motivation, doesn't want to practice anymore, doesn't want to come to lessons. And generally, we find that there are kind of two main reasons why that happens. And we wanted to do a session today to kind of help you understand, well, to give those reasons and then help you understand why, and hopefully give you some tips and things to avoid them. So even if you're not a parent, this is still going to be useful, because this does happen to us adults as well. Certainly happened to me before. So those two reasons that I've identified, I'm going to ask Mike in a second if he's identified any more. The ones that I've identified is with the G4 method, staying on the same checklist or the same level for too long and not feeling like you're progressing. And then the second reason is having a lack of clear goals about why you're learning to play guitar, and those goals could either come from the parent or from the child or from both. And if they're coming from both, it's important that there needs to be a correlation there. So we'll talk about those in a minute. They were my main two reasons. I don't know if there was any other reasons that you could think of, Mike.
No, that's the two main ones, because of the only thing I would say is just the lack of enjoyment some students
Yeah.
have, and I think that comes with that's a byproduct of not having a goal and thinking about a reason why you're learning for sure.
And not progress. Sorry, I just noticed you got your dog on your lap there.
Yeah, he's
Hold him up to say hello to him.
this is Bertie, everyone.
He's
Um,
the one that's been causing havoc for the past couple of weeks in Mike's lessons.
yes, he's ruining both of our lives, Vicky.
Yeah. So he is incredibly cute. So yeah, and the lack of enjoyment often comes from the lack of progression, or at least the lack of perceived progression. So I wanted to talk about those things today. Before we start, though, I want to talk about the students that I know that are doing very well and that are enjoying the lessons and that are progressing, and talk about the things that I know that those students are doing and the differences between those students and the ones who aren't progressing or enjoying it for whatever reason. So I don't mean this as a criticism against anybody. I just wanted to start with, I know that things are working a lot for these particular students, so that maybe we can take some inspiration from that. So there are lots I can think of. The two I've kind of written down here on my notes are Ruben and Spike, both of whom have done incredibly well, actually, particularly since we've been doing the online lessons. I mean, they were both doing pretty well before that. Spike is your student now, Mike, isn't he?
Yeah, yeah.
So you can probably talk a little bit about Spike and why you think he's doing as well as he is.
Um, well, he's got the bug, which is the main thing, because of when I was learning guitar as a kid, um, I was very bad at practice for a good couple of years there as well, and then there was a moment where I got the bug, which is just like loving playing and wanting to get better and better and better, and then that desire just pushes you to want to practice more and more and more. And yeah, Spike's got that. He's got the bug where he loves playing, and I think because it's a snowball effect, because of he's practicing so much, he's getting better so quickly that it becomes more and more fun. So he can actually see the progression. It's very, very clear and very, very obvious. The progression of the students is always clear to me, but it's more often than not, even students who are practicing feel like they're not progressing, they can't see the progression. But Spike's practicing so much that he is actually kind of in real time feeling how much better he's getting on a week by week basis. So it just snowballs, gets more and more fun, which makes you want to practice more and more and more. Yeah, so I think it kind of boils down to that really.
Yeah, that snowball effect is a really really good way of putting it. And I think a similar thing's happening with Ruben as well. Obviously, Jimmy's not here today, but I know what Jimmy's told me, and I had a long chat with Ruben's dad the other week as well, and Bertie's getting some love. um, but as far as I understand it, I think Ruben sometimes practices 90 minutes a day, and some of that is structured G4 practice, some of it's kind of just playing and having fun and doing his own thing, and I think that the same thing is happening there, because he's got that buzz. He's obviously really into music, and it's a combination, I think, of having the bug, having the love and the passion for it, and putting in the work. And I think that that's really important to say as well, because it's not about talent, really. It's not about musicality. It's not about having any more of an advantage than other kids. I mean, certainly from my own experience, when I was growing up, I was very often told that I was talented. I was musically talented, to the point where I believed it, right? And I thought, oh, great, I'm good at this. I don't really need to put any work in. And then my goal, and I'll talk about goals separately in a minute, was just to be good enough to play in a band. That was all I was really interested in. So I wasn't particularly interested in becoming a virtuoso guitar player, and certainly anyone who's heard me play recently will know that I'm not a virtuoso guitar player, but I got good enough to do what I wanted to do and have fun, and do that. And then when I got to the Brit School, a very long time ago, I was kind of shocked, because there were all these other guitarists there who were much better than me, and I thought, oh, hang on a minute, they're much better than me, like they must be more talented than me. And it was only kind of later on that I thought, well, no, they've put in more work. They haven't just learned 3 chords and then joined a band. They've learned they've kind of gone on, they've learned more chords, they've studied their scales, they've done the music theory stuff. And now they can, not only are they playing in bands, they're also better musicians. And that gave me a bit of a wake-up call, because I thought, okay, I really need to up my game here if I'm going to be as good as these people. And I think that sometimes people think that there's some kind of, God-given talent that some people have, and it's much more to do with, as Mike said, having the buzz and getting that passion. And then the more you get the bug, the more you get the passion, the more you practice, the more you play, the more you progress. So that's kind of what I would say about that. It's about. There was this really good quote, actually, that I think was from one of David Hart's blogs, that said something like, we all enjoy doing what we're good at, right? But the trick is to get good in the first place, and that's the thing that takes hard work. And that's why when I speak to a parent and they say, oh, I want my kid to do the 5-week intro and see if they enjoy it, I think, well, they're probably not going to enjoy it, because it's going to be hard. I mean, we'll try and inspire them and get them to have fun and stuff, but it's going to be, their fingers are going to hurt. They're not going to be able to do much initially. They're going to be working on the coordination. So that's why we say, look, you've got to give it really 6 months to a year. And then parents need to be supporting in that first few months, for sure. And again, from speaking to parents recently, that's one of the big takeaways that I've had, is that parents of students like Ruben and Spike, who else's mum did I speak to? Sanvi's mum said the same thing. At the beginning, you have to kind of help them and encourage them, and encourage them to get that kind of bug going. and then when they get it, it's like a light bulb goes off in their head. And you know, no one is forcing Ruben to practice 90 minutes a day. He's doing it now because he loves it. So that's my kind of first thing that I wanted to mention. So why are Ruben and Spike then, apart from the bug, and some of our other students as well, as I say, I'm just singling those guys out. Well, since we've gone online, you guys will know that as well as the lessons, you can also send WhatsApp videos of yourselves playing to the teachers. I think Mike's having Bertie trouble. Oh, there he is. So, and those guys, I know Ruben in particular sends poor Jimmy a ridiculous amount of videos a week, and I know his dad was feeling quite guilty about it. But look, you know, Jimmy's okay. I think Jimmy's just happy that he's doing as much work as he is, and as a result of that, you know, he's been able to get kind of, I think he's done like 2 levels within a few months. And you know, Spike, I know, is on a similar trajectory. So I think, you know, having that self-discipline is great, and then actually saying, you know what, I can do all these exercises. I'm not just going to wait for my next lesson to see if Mike or Jimmy will give me the tick. I'm going to make a little video now. I'm going to get my mum to send it over, my dad to send it over. And then, you know, people who do that can progress a lot quicker. And we're going to keep this in place, I think, as well, even when we start the in-person lessons back up again, you know, whenever that may be. Practicing to a metronome is another thing. I know that some students are sending you videos without them practicing to the metronome, Mike. Is that right?
Yeah, and also some as well as that, I've got some students I noticed this week who can play some of the songs and exercises in the books so well, so incredibly well, and in some cases even play them faster than is necessary, so they can actually perform the exercise faster, but haven't practiced with a metronome, so can't do it. Can't actually play along, and it's vitally important, because otherwise we're going to be all over the place when we're playing songs. So it's the importance of definitely the metronome when sending in videos, but it should be practiced to as well. I know not all exercises are suitable for learning to the metronome. But you know, getting it once it's under your fingers and it's not complicated anymore, then start focusing on the timing, because it's the most important thing. And
Absolutely.
I say it all the time in my lessons, but because I know I'm being annoying when I talk about certain things like playing to the metronome and bracing, and I appreciate that, but I'm not being annoying just for the sake of it. I have doing it because it is for the best. It's gonna, if someone had really instilled these things in me when I started learning, I would be 10 years ahead of where I am today, for sure. Easily 10 years ahead of where I am in terms of my playing and my songwriting.
Same here. Yeah, me too. Absolutely. Yeah. So do as we say, kids, not as we did. Something like that. Yeah. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. I was going to say, and I've sat in on a few of yours and Jimmy's lessons over the past couple of months as well, and I'm still speaking to students who, when I say to them, do you practice with a metronome, they say no. And I think, well, you know, it's going to be really hard for us to give you these ticks if you're not able to do it with the metronome. And that kind of brings me on to the first of these reasons, which is staying on the same method book or checklist for too long. So there are 2 things that you can do, really. The first is practicing to the metronome, and the second, if you really want to fast track your progress, is to send the guys WhatsApp videos. Hey, Jimmy's here. Is to send the teachers videos on WhatsApp of you playing along with a metronome. If you don't use a metronome, they're not going to be able to give you the tick. okay? You don't have to wait until your next lesson to get it. If there's a bunch of stuff you know you can do, and you just haven't got them ticked off yet, especially now with the online lessons, it is a little harder for us to check the checklist. So we just need a little bit more, I guess, cooperation from you guys. Our goal for every one of our students is to get each checklist done within around 6 to 12 months, okay? So if some students will get them done a lot quicker than that, some students, you know, I've seen some students staying on the same checklist, you know, for 18 months, 2 years, and no wonder they start to lose interest, because they're just doing the same stuff over and over again. That's no fun for anyone, and it's certainly no fun for us as teachers to be teaching like that. So yeah, that's kind of one thing you can do. Now, if you are the parent of a student, or if you are a student yourself who's been on the same checklist for longer than a year, chances are there's going to be stuff, if you've been practicing, there's going to be stuff that we can tick off. So what I recommend that you do is get in touch with whoever your main teacher is, Michael, Jimmy, and say, look, can I have a one-to-one lesson? You know, I've been on the same checklist for, you know, a year, 18 months. Just want to get it finished. I've got a few things that I think I can do, and then you can just sit there in the lesson, play, you know, do it that way, and then we'll be able to help you set goals as well. We'll be able to give you a date, say, right, okay, you've got X amount of exercises to do, let's see if we can get this done in a month or in 2 months, and then that just helps to keep the momentum going. But guys, we really need you to help us there. We will do everything we can. We're always happy to give extra help, extra lessons when it's needed, but we can't do the work for you, right? We've given you all the tools to do the work, and students are doing the work, and the students that are doing phenomenally well, and we're very, very proud of them. So yeah, just speak to us. Don't lose heart. You know, we can help you turn that around for sure, because we don't want people staying on the same method for too long, because if they do, the chance of them then wanting to stop the lessons increases, and obviously we don't want that. We want more Rubens and Spikes and Zias, with Gemma's here, and Zia is definitely included in that category as well. So that's kind of the first thing. Mike, sorry, before I move on to the second thing, did you have anything to add on the checklist thing?
No, not really. The only thing I thought about as well, because I'll always think about how I was when I was learning as well, and it's very, very difficult for teachers, and very, very difficult for parents as well. If you've got a child who doesn't have a clear goal in mind, because I didn't either. You know, I saw someone playing the guitar, and I thought, oh, that would be super cool if I could do that. And then after 6 months of doing quite well, that desire died down a little bit. So then I wasn't practicing for quite a while, and it's really tricky. I was just thinking, if any of the students are in that kind of position where, you know, they were really jazzed up about going and starting to play the guitar, and now they feel a little bit flat on it. There's definitely every single opportunity for that to be turned around, and them to get that spark kind of back, or get that spark greater than they've ever had it before. Because it happened with me, and I've seen it happen with students in the past as well. So if if any students out there are not feeling super hyped about practicing and playing in general, and the parents are worried about that as well, there's every opportunity. It's that can change for sure. Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, the other thing to say at this point as well is that, like, guitar's not for everybody. You know, guitar may not be your child's thing, you know, and that's absolutely fine. Some kids learn guitar for a bit and then think out, oh, actually they'd rather play piano or drums or whatever. You know, I think as long as you give it a good go, and if the child's really not interested, I don't want to, you know, cajole anyone into sticking with an instrument that they don't like. Some kids would prefer to be dancing or doing gymnastics, or, you know, something else. So if it's really not their thing, you know, say you've given it a year and it's really not their thing, and, you know, they're not enjoying it, they're not enjoying the lessons, they're not, you know, they're really not interested in practicing, fair enough, like, okay, off you go, you know. But yeah, talking about goals, I think this is important more for longer term students, Mike, also
Yeah.
because the goals, yeah, you're right. Like when you first start, especially if you're a 7 or 8 year old kid, you probably don't have any goals. And, you know, your parent might be like, oh, well, you've asked for guitar lessons, so we're gonna give it a try. And you know, this whole thing about, oh, you know, what are your playing goals? Well, most people don't know when they're a beginner. Adults often can articulate it a little
Mm.
bit more, but I think where that tends to come into play is when they've been playing for maybe 2 or 3 years. I've certainly had this experience before where, you know, kids have become pretty good players. You know, they're not beginners anymore, and then I get the call from the parent, oh, you know, they're not interested, they're not wanting to practice, or, you know, they want to do something else. And often I find that the reason for that is because somewhere, somehow, they haven't quite got that bug in the same way that some of the other students have. And so that's kind of one thing which we've already talked about. And then the second thing is that often the parent might have very different goals from the child. And I used to find this a lot more when we were teaching the grades, Mike, because
Mm.
we'd have students whose parents were really keen to get them through all the grades, and they'd become good players. And then they just started to see the grades as another. I talked about this a while ago with Arian when he was on these with me. Um, they just start to see guitar as being another thing, another chore, like homework. And it absolutely breaks my heart that anybody that gets to become that good a player sees guitar in that way. And those students I really am sad to lose, because
Mm.
I think, you know, you're not a beginner that's given it a go for a year. You're a good player now. You've obviously put some work in somewhere along the line. But because the goal has only ever been, got to get this grade done, you know, I've got to play good enough to get the grade done, and that's it. And then they don't engage in any other way. Or perhaps the parent wants them to get the grade done, and, you know, they're not that fussed about whether they learn to play songs or anything like that. And then we end up being kind of stuck in the middle, you know, because we're trying to kind of keep everyone happy. So it's really, really, really important, if you're a parent in that situation, or if you're an adult student in that situation, like once you start getting through the method of getting to be a better player, you really, really need to be thinking, what do I want to do? Like, what is my main motivation for learning guitar? I read a book a couple of years ago called Start With Why, by a book called Simon Sinek. I don't know if you, guy called Simon Sinek. I don't know if you've
No, I
heard
don't
of that,
know.
Mike.
No.
It was really good because it's all about. It helped me get a lot of clarity about why I started doing this, and I realised that it wasn't because I wanted to teach guitar. Like, I'm really, um, you know, teaching guitar is kind of a means to an end. And it was because I loved music, and I wanted to kind of pass on that love of music to other people, and the way that I could do that was through teaching guitar. So teaching guitar was like the medium, you know, to get to that, and it helped me get a lot of clarity on why I teach guitar, why we do this, and also how we do it as well, and the fact that we try and be there a lot more than your kind of average teacher. You know, we do these, we offer private lessons, the WhatsApp videos, blah blah blah, or, you know, all the other stuff we do. It's because, like, we genuinely want to help people. We're not just doing it for, you know, £20 an hour, or however much. Private guitar teachers probably still £20 an hour, same
Hmm.
as 20 years ago.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's a whole other topic. Anyway, yeah, we're doing it because we love it, and as students, you kind of need to know that too, because it doesn't get easier as you get better. It doesn't get easier, but it becomes more enjoyable. The learning process becomes more enjoyable because you've already had those early successes. So you're already able to play a few songs. You've already got maybe passed some levels, got some certificates. Maybe done your first performance, and that's been a lot of fun. So it's not that the learning becomes easier, and suddenly you can play guitar, and it's, you know, it's easy for you. It's just that because you've already got into it, you you know, you're playing for the enjoyment, and then the improving is kind of a byproduct of that. So it's going back to that snowballing effect, really. So yeah, they were the two things that I wanted to talk about, really. Being on the same checklist for too long, please, please, please do contact us if that's you or one of your kids, because we really, really, really want to focus on helping you get on to the next level. I've had a few conversations with parents about this recently. And then goals. You know, why do you want your child to learn guitar? Why does your child want to learn guitar? Are they compatible? And if they're not, is there some way they can meet in the middle? And then just always tell us, communicate with us, because we, you know, we genuinely want to help. We want to make sure everybody succeeds as much as they possibly can with us. That's all I had to say, Mike, unless you had anything else to add to that.
Yeah, I was always. I was just.
Always.
Well, I could talk for hours about all these things we talk
I
about.
know, I know, I
Yeah.
know.
I think something for me growing up was I did things because of I wanted people to think that I was good at things. That was a drive for me when I was a kid, and probably still is a drive today as well. And when you're talking at the beginning of this about kind of God-given talent, I did drawing and art from as early as I can remember, earlier than I can remember. Ever since 3 or 4, all I did was draw. Um, it was it was always my goal to go to art college and become an artist, always. And everyone used to say, "Oh, I've got such a God-given talent for drawing." Um,
Yeah.
so a couple of things with that. The first thing is I gave that up at about 15 and started playing guitar more, and decided that that's going to be my thing. And when it comes to a God-given talent, when I was in my late 20s and we released our first release with the band I'm in currently, um, uh, I thought, oh well, I've got God-given talent for art, so I'll do the album artwork, and it was atrocious because I hadn't been practicing it, and up
Yeah.
until that point, I still thought, oh well, I'm naturally good at art, so this is fine. I can always pull that out of the bag, but no, I was good because I did it every day for years and years and years. But apart from that, another thing with this is a big part of the reason I gave up doing art is because there was a boy in the year below me who did started doing these wonderful oil paintings, and they were like the most beautiful thing ever. And then so I thought, well, I've got to try and do some proper painting, and mine were absolutely rubbish. And then I was like, oh, that boy has a bigger God-given talent than me, so I'm going to give up because of
Yeah.
if I'm not the best, at least in school at this, then maybe I should do something else. And the reality is, looking back and knowing about practice, that boy had practiced painting, and I'd never
Yes.
practiced painting. It's like an additional skill, and just because we've got these kind of like false beliefs in our minds about what it means to want to do something and to be good at something, uh, totally changed the course of my life because of that. So I'll just say, like, for me, having a goal, I think when you begin, it's something new and you want to take it up. So there it is. I want to play guitar and it's going to be super cool. So the first 6 months is probably like that, and then it might be a couple of years until you get that bug and then you have a goal of wanting to play live and things like that. But like my big goal, which is hard for the students, is in that if there's that interim time to make it as fun as possible. So
Yeah.
that's the reason that it's properly fun, which is why it hits home when you say about, oh, this is just another chore that I do. Yeah,
Yeah.
because of
Absolutely. And
yeah.
and that's interesting you say that about the drawing, because I used to love drawing as a kid as
Ah,
well.
okay.
And I started trying to do art, it wasn't art, graphic design GCSE, and I realised I was rubbish because I hadn't done any, apart from like just doing pencil drawings and
Yeah.
colouring in and stuff. When I tried to do it seriously, because I hadn't been continuing with it throughout my life, and again there were kids in my class that were much better than me, I thought, oh well, this is
Mhm.
so I chucked it in. And I also have a similar memory as well, interesting, of being at school and there being a kid in the year below me playing guitar. I can't remember what it was he was playing now, but it was something really flashy and really intricate. And I remember that same feeling, looking at him and thinking, oh, well, he's just more talented than me. No, it's because he was, you know, I was going out with me mates at that point, and he was obviously spending more time practicing. But, you know, and I guess this is the kind of thing that you only realise as an adult, and, you know, you can tell kids this and they're not necessarily gonna believe you. But maybe if it comes from us, you know, rather than another thing I've found, Mike, when I was talking to parents, is that their kids respond much better if you and Jimmy tell them this stuff than if they do. So this is the kind of stuff you need to be saying, I think, more in lessons.
For sure.
Cool. Thanks for watching. I know there are a few of you here, and I don't know what point was awesome, Mike, but apparently Kat says one of the points that you made was really awesome.
Oh, well, thank you, Kat. Cheers.
That you got some value out of that, Kat. Cool, guys. So thank you very much. If you haven't already done the poll about online in-person lessons, please do go on and just stick your preference down. It's probably a couple of posts down in the group here if you're watching this live. We're just gauging interest. You know, there's nothing is set in stone, and nothing is set in stone with anything at the moment, is it? And any decision that we make now doesn't mean that it's going to be the same decision in 2 or 3 months or 6 months or however long this thing lasts. So, but anyway, we do want to start seeing some of you guys in some capacity if we can, because I don't know about you, Mike, but I'm really missing it now.
Yeah, definitely, big time.
Cool. All right, thanks very much then, guys. We'll see you all soon. Take care. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye.